with 17 other colleagues, I do three things, or we do three things. The first thing we do is to make sure that our landlords stay the right side of 179 pieces of legislation. Some of that legislation can put you in jail. Some of it can give you a criminal record. Most will give you a hefty fine. So that's the first thing we do. The second thing we do is to make your tenant happy, to look after your tenant. Why? Because if you've got a happy tenant, you've got constant income, and that's good for your investment. How do we do that? We're a teacher. First lesson we usually give is how to change a light bulb. We really do. We are the diplomatic service. We are the social service. We are any service that needs to basically make your tenant happy in that property. And the third thing we do is to actually look after the asset. Because when you've completed your landlord journey and you say, right, this is it, it's going to the kids, or I'm going to put it in a pension, or whatever, you're actually in the right spot to talk to people, to actually find out how to do it. And I'm going to repeat Kate's words that, you know, those people who just go, I'm going to sell my buy-to-let, and they put it on the market, basically all they're doing is giving the taxman some money and the estate agent their fee. That is it. If you miss out on talking to an accountant, a financial advisor, you're really missing out on a trick. So, I'm going to talk about two things, legal update and market trends. So the first thing, let's do the legal update side of things. I said there's 179 pieces of legislation. I think we might end up with 182 by the end of this month. No, next month. So the first one that's going to land is the Homes Fit for Human Habitation 2018 Act. You will notice that all of these just trip off the tongue because they're so easy to say. This one will land on the 20th of March. I will absolutely be gobsmacked if anybody in this room were affected by this legislation. Why? Because you've got bums on seats to listen to basically about what's going on in the market. You care. You're the people that basically want to provide the right sort of homes. So what actually happened here, history, Housing Health and Safety Rating System came in 2004. It gave 29 points that a tenant could actually go to the local, well, it was their local government, their local council, and say this house isn't good enough. There was an absolute bottleneck. There were too many people going, it wasn't working. Private Members' Bill went through last year, so now we've got the Fit for Human Habitation Act. What does it mean? It means your tenant, your customer, now can take you to court. They don't have to go through the council anymore. But as I said, if anyone here were affected by this legislation, I would be super surprised. Redress scheme for private landlords and developers. Now, any person, any landlord that does not use an agent is what is known as a private landlord in the business. So if you're going through an agent, this won't affect you. What's a redress scheme? Most agents have to belong to a redress scheme. It really gives your customers a voice. There are 10 million people in the private rental sector. They need a voice that if they're not being treated properly, they're being discriminated against, they've got somewhere to go to. They don't have that with most probably about 5 million people. They say half landlords or private landlords don't have that. So there is going to be a redress scheme for those. We don't know what it's going to cost at the moment, but we do know that if those private landlords don't join, there'll be a £5,000 fine. Longer tenancies. I'm not too sure how this one will run. I think it's a real vote winner. It sounds good. What does it mean, first of all? Government's saying a tenancy needs to be around about 3 years. So we manage around about 850 tenancies. So I think the stats we've got really can stack up. 87% of tenancies are ended by the tenant. The average tenancy is running at 22 months. It's growing, but it's running at 22 months. So I can't actually see that there's a lot of need, well, a lot of want for a 36-month tenancy. However, if that does come into play, the issue will be, and I'm speaking as a landlord here, well, if I've got a problem with my tenant, they're not paying their rent, how am I going to get them out of the property? And this is where we've started to actually look at legal protection. Now, I know some of you in the room already have legal protection, but we've been looking into it. If it's something that you want to start finding out about, we've been able to get some really good deals. So come and have a chat with me after school. The housing court, at the moment, everything to do with housing problems, things like that, goes into the main system. And it's absolutely full. Anecdotally, in London, to get someone out on a non-mandatory notice, which is under a Section 8, could take anything up to 6 months. It's not the same here. But basically getting a housing court that will just deal with housing will make things a lot quicker and a lot smoother for everybody. Electrical safety checks. This has been on the books since 2016. Grenfell happened. People said, okay, we've got to get serious about that. If you've been with Maxine Lester, you would have been hearing us talking about getting electrical checks is really best practice. We knew this was going to hit the ground. It will most probably hit the ground in October. And what it means is in October, you will need to get a check every 5 years. It will be mandatory. It's going to be like the gas cert. Now, little tip here. If you've got an old fuse board where you go and pick it in and pick it out, and you've got a little fuse and you dig out with a knife, go and get that changed now. By the time October comes along, there's going to be a real pull on electricians doing checks. Get it sorted out now. You'll get it done quicker. Regulation for letting agents. I think this is a brilliant idea. Why do I think that? Well, I bet we're very regulated. Why? Just give you an idea. We have around about £8.5 million of rents go through our books every year. We have deposits, most probably about £1.5 million sitting in a client account, or they're both in client accounts. We need to be regulated. And what's basically going to come in is regulation for letting agents to make sure that they really do follow the rules. Kate mentioned about client money protection, that your agent needs to have this. And it is. It's a known that, would say known, it's expected that a number of agents just won't be able to get this sort of cover and they will be closing the doors. The other thing that's really important is training people. Did I mention there were 179 pieces of legislation? So the people that are working in the agency need to actually understand that. It's not just one person that needs to understand, it's everybody. We spend around about £8,500 a year on training our staff and sending to them to the right courses. And this will now become absolute mandatory. In fact, you've got to have sort of CPD every year and to go in. I think it's a great idea. Minimum room sizes actually came in October last year, and it came in for houses of multiple occupation. So why am I talking about this? Because most houses are just general residential. The reason is the legislation says a person over 10 years old cannot sleep in a bedroom less than 6 metres squared. Put it into context in this area, a 3-bedroom, which was built in the 70s, 80s, is most probably around about 4.5, 5 metres squared. So, okay, you put a family there, that's fine. But what if your tenant sublets? Now there is legislation there, we've got to be really hot on the nail. So anytime we're doing inspections or you're doing inspections, you need to make sure that you haven't got subletting going on. And the Tenant Fee Act, the tenant fee ban, the tenant fee, there's another word for it, forgotten. Coming in on the 1st of June. So what does it mean? It means that there are no prohibited payments to grant, continuance, assignment, termination, blah, 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 the tenancy. What it means is from the 1st of June, your tenants will not pay to start a tenancy, during the management of the tenancy, and also to end the tenancy. I'll come on to costs a little bit later because there are some things within this that you need to be aware of. And the first thing is that the security deposit will be no more than 5 weeks. So what does that mean? Well, if we take a deposit now, we're taking a month and a half. And that's not 6 weeks. 6 weeks is a different calculation from a month and a half. If we renew a tenancy after the 1st of June, if we set up a new tenancy after the 1st of June, we can only take 5 weeks as a deposit. So we've been working with a company which gives a no deposit option. We've been working with them for about the last 10 months to see what's going on. Seems to be working. So again, not going to go into the details with you, but the main reason we're working with them, they will give you 8 weeks worth of cover. And I think as a landlord, that's one thing that I was really clear and wasn't too sure. I wanted to make sure that I had cover going forward. A holding deposit, one per property. We found out about the tenant fee ban. We heard about it first in 2017. So we've been doing a hell of a lot of work, basically up to date. And the one thing that really was coming out is, well, at the moment, what happens is a tenant decides to take a property, you agree, you say, yeah, that's lovely. And the tenant, from our point of view, will pay anything from £225 to £375 to actually get into that property. They've got skin in the game. We were worried that if a tenant isn't going to pay a fee, well, they can just go around and they can take anything. So thankfully, legislation is saying that there's a holding deposit of 1 per property. So what we would be taking is for a £900 property around about £200. We'd be giving it back in the deposit, but at least they've got skin in the game when it comes to actually going forward on the tenancy. There's some default fees. And there's things like if you lose keys, if you change the tenancy midway, if you add people, there are default fees that will be paid by the tenant. And then I said there will no more on the 1st of June. Did I say it comes in the 1st of June? Yes, I did. I was at a recent Lettings Council meeting, and the chap who's actually writing the legislation up basically said to a room full of agents, I'll give it to you after the 1st of June. And we went, but we've got to do it on the 1st of June. His answer was, I know. And that was it. So that's what we're working on. So it is a case, we know most things, but there are going to be some things that will come out. So let's actually have a look at what is a prohibitive payment. These are the things that really, I'm going to say from Maxine Leicester's point of view, because we've recently merged with HomeQuest and we've realised the landlords there, the tenants paid for the inventory. So for Maxine Leicester's landlords, they don't. The tenants didn't, the landlords do. So this is very much a case, it will depend on the company and the way that they've done the structure. But all these things, and again, when I started looking at this as a landlord, 2017, it was like, well, you know, there's a lot of benefits to me as the landlord out of that. What's the benefit to the tenant? Okay, we give them a home. So why has this actually come in? Well, 30 years ago, tenants didn't pay anything at all. The landlord paid everything, did everything. But obviously, as more legislation has come in, there's been the thing, all right, well, we can charge the tenant and we can subsidise the landlord. To the extent that you've got a local agent who's charging £750 for one person, non-refundable fee to move into a property. I think they're taking a liberty. And that's what this legislation is all about. Basically, people have really been, I suppose in some respects, not really treating people well. So it's just coming back. They're just making the pendulum swing. So what you're all thinking about is like, right, I've heard 225, I've heard 375, what's it actually going to cost me? And unfortunately, the circle will complete itself. All that information I gave there, that work just doesn't stop. It has to happen. You, as landlords, you have income, you're worried about the income, you want to make sure that you stay on a profitable way. So we've come up with basically a scenario where, in general terms, we increase rents every year by around about 3%. We've been able to do that most probably for the last 8 years. As Kate said, it's very much to do with wage inflation. We've met that with wage inflation, and we've seen it. So we know that we can increase rents. And we've worked out that with tax relief, an increase in the rental of £25 to £30 a month will cover everything that's needed to do. So when you hear people who are saying it's no landlord fees or things like that, there are going to be, the work needs to be done and the work needs to be paid for. So don't think that someone's suddenly being very charitable and basically mopping up everything. Someone is going to pay for it. So The thing is, it's very individual. It's very individual about the property. That is really a sort of real wide landscape. So any individual questions, then please come to me, because then we can go through your particular portfolio and your particular needs. So, moving on to market trends. And this is quite incredible. Over the last 2 years, things have really changed. We've got here a wider type of property market, a wider type of property. 3 years ago, I'd have been standing at one of these and say, if you're going to invest, get 3 bedrooms. Whatever you do, get 3 bedrooms. There's so many people want 3 bedrooms, and there's no 3 bedrooms on the market. You're going to make a killing on 3 bedrooms. Get 3 bedrooms. Not going to say that anymore. Studio apartments, 1-bedroom properties, 2-bedroom properties, 3-bedroom properties, across the board, go. They're all very rentable. And why is that? Because the demographic is changing. Now, you may be surprised to find out that 50% of people in the rental market fit our demographic here. They're over 46. Sorry if anyone's under 46. Yeah, thanks, bye. But also within that, there are now 3 very distinguished, very defined blocks. You've got your first-time renters, and what they're looking for is they're looking for basic, cheap. Cheap is the absolute word. So if you're looking to go into that sort of market, that's really where you aim for. Kate's already alluded to this in the type of property that you buy. Middle range, millennials. Now they want the sexy stuff. They want the smart meter. They want super fast broadband, fibre optic. Oof, go mad for that. They want cleaners. They want people who do the ironing. Anything that they could be eco-friendly. That's really, and actually, in some respects, that's where the money is, because they do have disposable income. And then you come to the more mature people. They're looking for community. They're looking for schools. They have families. They want to make sure they're in the right environment. So what we've started to do over the last couple of years is to start profiling properties. So rather than say, oh, it's a 2-bed in Brampton, so therefore it will reach this because it reached that last time, we're actually looking at who will take that property. What's the type of person, so that we can give you best advice to say, okay, if you do this, you might be able to get that. Quality wins every time. Now, that might be really, really obvious to the people in the room here. But please, if you are going to do any redecoration, don't paint it magnolia. Please, please. I always forget the name. Lisa, you can help me here. Where are you? There you are. What is the colour we need to use?
Ivory number 3.
It's a Dulux tray. It's everywhere now. It's a light, it's a bright colour. It isn't magnolia. And also swirly carpets. Woof. Those lovely navy carpets with the little orange stars. Oof. Neutral. Go neutral. And I think I'm going to upset, I know about 5 people in the room here, when I actually say 87% of your customers that you want to put in your house for you to earn an income have a pet. Now, as landlords, I think you want to supply a lovely home for people, and a home means that they want to live there. If they can't have things, there's a restriction. So if you want to restrict your market, then carry on excluding pets. There are insurances, there are different ways of handling it. We get vet certificates, we get everything to make sure that that's the right thing. We do it for our own properties. I will just leave you with that. If you want to increase the income in your property, the absolute main thing is to allow a pet. I am sorry to the 5 people in the room who totally disagree with me. So, roundup. God, doesn't a bad story make the news? Yes! Tenants, they now have more power. Landlords are going to be crushed to the floor. Your tenants, your customers have always had the power. They've always had it. It's just basically coming out and saying, yeah, these guys have got the power and they can do things now. They've always had the opportunity to say, do you know what, I don't want to live in your place anymore, I'm going down the road. That's no different, absolutely no different. And demand is still strong. We've seen an 11% growth on our applicant base. They are the people that ring us up to say, I want to come into this property. We are predicting and agree with what's being predicted, there's going to be a 7.5% increase in rental over the next 3 years. So there's a lot of bad news about landlords. There's a lot of bad news about buy-to-let and things like that. The thing is, it's still good for landlords. I know when I started my investor journey 25 years ago, I know where I want to go and I know what I'm going to get out of it at the end. It is a long game, but it's still good. So that's me. If you need any questions or anything like that, there's 10 of the team here this evening, so we'll be sat there, and I am now going to hand over to Tony.